Hello and welcome back to HardStuck. I'm your host, Nick Thug Nasty Lavid. Excited to be joined by the dynamic duo of Justin Meta Pusher Wilkes and Jay 704 Not Found Burkholder. And we have an exciting episode for you today, diving headfirst into all the thrilling esports events from this past weekend and to look ahead, covering everything from Blast Lisbon, Call of Duty Major 2, and a little bit of everything in between. So let's get right into it. Kicking it off with some CS action. In Group A, we saw MOUZ take down Spirit 2-1 yet again in an epic upper semifinal battle. Justin, how do MOUZ keep finding ways to beat Spirit every single time?
I think MOUZ just has the ability to kind of out-frag them. Spirit's kind of showing themselves, in my opinion, to be a little bit one-dimensional. They have really one playstyle and one way to win, and that's on the back of Donk. Like, Donk just needs to get in and drop 30 bombs every single map if they're the ones who want to win it. Against the top teams, I feel like Spirit really does have the ability to just kind of roll over anybody aside from those like fellow top 3 teams. But when they're running into the top 3, which has mostly just been MOUZ in these past 2 tournaments, they're getting completely shut down.
Yeah, Jay?
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I got to disagree a little bit that Donk is just fully carrying the team. I do agree that, like, yeah, he's the outlier there. They rely so solely on him. Obviously, like, he's putting up crazy numbers. He outfragged everyone by almost 20 kills in that last game. But it's like Magix is definitely holding the team back, right? Magix was 47-62. But the thing I think we need to shift towards the narrative is Shiro. Shiro is actually clutching a lot of these games. And like Shiro doesn't have the kill power that Donk has, but the Shiro is there, still fragging out. And so for that, I think like, you know, maybe there's just an imbalance on their team compared to a team like MOUZ, where everyone's between 55 to 65 kills, right? MOUZ is just a better team overall.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the hard issue there is they have those top 2 or 3 players on Spirit that can take care of a majority of teams. So what Justin was saying, but MOUZ is just a more complete team top to bottom, and Shiro having a lot of clutch moments. We're talking about recently that Donk is like extremely low rated at clutches. And it's like, well, when he's the first guy going in there getting 2 every single time, he's not going to be alive for the clutch because he's already at 10 HP, right? And then for Shiro on the other side, he's the designated AWPer for that team. So yeah, you would expect him to be alive late round situations to get those clutches. So it's like some of the stats can definitely be misleading, but I think top to bottom, I'm still a huge Spirit fan because they're exciting and fun to watch. They're not a team that waits to the last 30 seconds to go plant a bomb. They get in there, but MOUZ is just, they're more complete at the current time, and we need to see something change with Spirit going forward.
They are. I do like the way Shiro and Zontix are playing. I think Shiro's really good, and I think Zontix does his job. I agree, Magix fully dropped the ball. I also think Chopper is dropping the ball. You know, I said that they're one-dimensional. They have this one-dimensional strategy, and I didn't mean for that to come off as negative about Donk because I think he's playing really good. He's doing what you can expect, doing about the same as what I think a siuhy would do on this team. Like, it's just hard for someone to drop 30 kills every single map. But as the IGL, you really need Chopper to come up with some backup sets for is Donk entering, is running Donk down mid every single round of this map not working. We need to have some backup strategies, and that falls on to Chopper. So I agree, Magix, Chopper, they got to step it up. Otherwise, there might be some uncomfortable conversations coming.
Yeah, that was going to be my next topic too. And it's like, when they face up against MOUZ, do they need a different play style? Does Donk need to slow it down a little bit? Because obviously they're being hard countered by MOUZ in these past couple events.
But do they have a different play style? Do they even have that?
I would hope.
They've played like this for so long, you know?
Yeah, no, I would hope. But the group stage wrapped up this weekend. I must have had an idea because group stage wrapped up on Monday in Vitality topped Group A, as I think we all expected. Eternal Fire dominated Group B. Jay, what were your expectations going into the group stage, and what surprises did you see?
Obviously, you know, I'm unsurprised by MOUZ and Vitality up there, especially Spirit 2. You know, I said my top 4 last week to everyone's dismay and utter disappointment. But my top 4 did end up going all the way, right? The only thing is from Group B, wow, Eternal Fire, I didn't expect that from them. I expected goodness from them, but I didn't expect the greatness from them that they did, especially over NAVI. I mean, like, NAVI, I don't think we're going to see the same lengths that they went to last fall anytime soon, but I want to. Eternal Fire is looking really great. They surprised me. And then same thing for Mongols and NAVI, right? From my top 4, they're going up there. But G2 was not even in my top 4. So I do still stand corrected on the fact that G2 has been going crazy. Like you said last week, G2 looking very good. You said last week, G2 looking very good. I took Mongols over them. I said NAVI over them. G2 looking fantastic.
Hey, we all had our right and wrong moments last week for sure. Justin, what are your thoughts on group stage?
I'll be honest. Well, I'll respond to what Jay just said. I think you were actually very correct in putting Mongols over G2 in that regard, and I don't think if you're a G2 fan, you should feel particularly good about that victory that they got over Mongols to make it into the group stage, because Mongols looked the worst I've ever seen them. I mean, they played terrible. Sinzu had 1 kill before he gets that ace in the second to last round, somehow salvages his score line to look vaguely reasonable, when before it was like, this guy is losing the entire map for our team. So Mongols a big disappointment for me, especially they had a really, really intense matchup against NAVI that led to them dropping down there, and they just barely missed out on that free pass into the group stage by beating NAVI. JL had an insane clutch. I think that was actually like vintage JL from that NAVI side. I was surprised they lost Eternal Fire Laughter. I felt like they had came through the tribulations of fighting Mongols off and then kind of dropped that map. There's been some discussion a little bit around the office about, were those upper bracket finals, like how serious were the teams taking it? Seeding came into play, and there was, Spirit coming out of the bottom side, so you could draw a tough matchup regardless of if you make it in the semis or the quarters. So yeah, that Mongols early exit, and I'll just say that the seeding in hindsight now, I'll harp on it again from last week, very, very imbalanced in terms of the strength between Group A and Group B. There's some teams in there that if you're a FaZe fan, if you're a Falcons fan, you really feel like you kind of got the short end of the stick drawing 3 of the best teams in the world in your group.
Yeah, for sure. And with that being said, the heavyweights, Spirit, NAVI, MOUZ, G2 are going to be battling it out in round 1. And your group leaders, Vitality and Eternal Fire, waiting in the wings in round 2. For a reminder for Blast, it's a single elimination tournament this weekend. Who are your finals picks, Justin? Who's in the finals?
So for finals on Sunday, I've got Vitality and MOUZ. I've got a rematch of our ESL finals. I'm really hoping on Saturday in the semifinals to get to see the Vitality versus Spirit matchup that's been like danced around and not happening this past month or so. But that's my finals matchup. I think Spirit will probably beat NAVI, and I think MOUZ will beat G2. I think G2 doesn't even belong in this top 6. So.
Yeah, not a again, unfortunately, Spirit was in the tough group to start with, and not an easy draw round 1 against NAVI, who you could say arguably is top 3, top 4 at the current point in time. So yeah, hope to see that. We keep begging for it. It seems like every time that we're doing this, it's like Spirit Vitality, and we haven't seen it in a while. Hopefully we get to see it on Saturday. Jay, what's your finals looking like? Well,
I'm glad you said your picks with MOUZ in the final, because I actually don't expect that. I'm going to take the underdog pick here and say that Eternal Fire is going to play against Vitality in that final.
Okay. Yeah. And then who do you both have coming out? Or is it common sense and it's Vitality and they're just going to keep winning until somebody shakes some things up?
Nick, it's Vitality.
Justin?
It's Vitality. They're if they make it to finals over Spirit or NAVI, they're not losing finals against any of these other teams. I really think that topside semifinal is going to be the spiritual grand final, and that's going to be the highest CS that we see.
Could not agree more. So let's shift gears on over to Call of Duty Major 2, where FaZe swept the grand finals 4-0 over the Vancouver Surge, securing their 2nd straight major title of the year. Jay, is there anyone out there who can dethrone FaZe right now?
I mean, of course it was FaZe, right? Doesn't faze me. But no, Celium was looking crazy. Semp 2. I don't know, to be honest. Like, at this current rate of the way this year is going with Call of Duty, FaZe is looking just amazing. I would say, like, Thieves, I actually expected to do a much better run than they did in this tournament bracket. Didn't look good against Toronto Ultra. And, like, Toronto Ultra, I think have been playing really good, but, like, we just saw a lot of unexpected matches this past tournament. And to me, like, if anybody was going to beat FaZe, it was going to be Thieves. Didn't happen. They didn't play each other. But I did like the things that I saw from Ultra and Surge in this tournament. I got to say that.
Justin?
I think if anybody's going to do it, there's a couple teams who just on their best day, especially if FaZe plays down a bit, could do it. I mean, we saw Surge in that upper bracket finals take them to game 5, losing both searches, but still winning both the hard points and just that control contested in the middle there.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's going to beat FaZe, they got to figure out a way to take some search and destroy maps off them. I mean, Surge were very close, 6-5 in that game 5 there of the upper bracket finals. If that search map goes their way and then FaZe has to fight their way back out of the lower bracket, maybe we see a different story in the grand finals. I don't know if that different story would be a different winner. I think FaZe probably still wins if they're coming out of the lower bracket, but it's not going to be a 4-0 the way it was. FaZe looks really good. I mean, like you said, Celium, MVP, insane performance. Simp and Ibizi still continuing their dominance. I mean, like, are these guys the GOAT duo at this point? Is that even a controversial thing to say at this point? I think they've been doing it for, 6 or 7 years together and won so much. They're beasts.
Yeah, my question going into Sunday was it did not look like the same winners bracket finals Surge team that made it to grand finals. It looked like, I don't know if they were deflated or already beaten or already used all of their energy to get to that point through the lower bracket or through the lower bracket finals, but it just didn't look like the same team. But hopefully, if anybody can do it, it's the Surge or 100 Thieves. I think they just, whatever it was, just wasn't their weekend. You know, everybody, you play the game for a reason and it just wasn't their weekend. Well, they're not going to be out of that top 2 for long. But you know who did fall out of their coveted spot? Our hometown heroes, the Carolina Royal Ravens, fell short of their top 4 finish, landing at top 8. Are they facing a decline, or did just bad luck plague them with the 100 Thieves unexpected drop in the bracket, Justin?
I think it was a little bit unlucky. I think I'm just going to cope for a little bit and say that it's unlucky. If they had a normal bracket, they likely end up in a very similar position, maybe just a couple rounds further down in that lower side. But if you're looking at the teams that they lost to the Surge and they lost to the Thieves, who had bounced back from their early upset to the Boston Breach. So if you just look at those out of context and don't look at final placing and everything, it can feel a little good. And that's what I'm just going to latch onto and hold on to that hope for.
Totally understand. Jay, how about you?
I wanna be on the copium train as well.
Yeah.
But I can't actually.
Oh no.
I'm actually going to pivot here. I think Royal Ravens have been on the decline. Unfortunately, they're just not playing like they should. TJ Halley has been playing like a veteran, as he should. But Vivid has not been on his A game, and same with Gwyn. If we look at that match, that last match against the Thieves, Gwyn 35-50, Vivid 38-58. I don't think we should be playing like that, even against the Thieves. And again, like the Thieves did not have the best bracket run in this tournament as well. So whatever it was that caused them to be off their A game, I don't know. We shouldn't be losing to them the way that we did. And Falcons, GG, it's like Falcons just need to figure out something that's going on there. We were going to win that no matter what. We absolutely demolished them. But when it comes to these other teams, like I wanted to, going into this tournament, keep saying that we're a top 3 team, but we are not playing like a top 3 team. Give it to Vancouver. Give it to Surge. Give it to Toronto Ultra. But don't give it to us. I think we need to lock in and maybe make some roster changes coming up here in a few weeks.
Actually, a great segue, but I'm pretty sure, Justin, he was just on the copium train when he said top 3, and they've never finished above top 4. But hey, they were on that path at the beginning of the season, very early Major 1 qualifiers. They were undefeated online. It caught everybody off guard. They definitely had the upward trajectory. So I couldn't agree with you more. They definitely are on the decline. They definitely play better online than they do on LAN. So they're
in this like cusp position where we can't really give them credit for beating the bottom teams. We really need to see them beat the top teams to kind of push over there. Like, we see that win over the Falcons. It's whatever. We were always going to win that. It doesn't mean anything. You gain nothing for it. We got to see them beat the big boys.
Can we say we have a new top 4 and it's almost cemented?
I think so.
Thieves, FaZe, Surge, Ultra.
I think so.
I would put FaZe above Thieves, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's
in no order.
That's a tier.
In no order. Yeah,
that's a tier, and then everybody else is currently below them, and there's a pretty big gap between those two. But speaking of roster changes, everybody's favorite topic: what teams do you think will shake things up as we head into Major 3 qualifiers starting on April 4th, Jay?
I want to see the Ravens shake things up. I think they stick with this roster a little longer, though. I don't see it happening. I think they're too cemented right now. I want to see it, though. I think that, again, Vivid and Gwyn, possibilities that you can move them out. And I'm just going to say the big thing here, Kenny is on the table, right? So that could be interesting. Anyways, I think the Falcons, they've been making roster moves. I think they're going to make a few more. Ravens, again, who knows? Gentlemates, Roker, and Heretics, I think they need to figure something out. Those are my three. Like, if you guys don't figure something out here in the next 2 weeks, as far as your roster for the rest of the year, you're cooked. Just continues that way.
I agree. I think all those bottom teams really need to make some kind of a change. I think the Ravens might be okay sticking it out with their current group. There are some options you could take, but it wouldn't, to me, be like a guaranteed improvement. So I could see both sides of it. But all those other teams, you should be looking at stuff. If you're a Rocker, you should be looking at RCDs. If you're with the Falcons, I've heard some real interesting stuff thrown out around the Falcons. Like, they have a lot of money. They want to keep XNID because they want to keep the Saudi influence, but Kenny, Hugh, there's a lot of good players. They got some money to use. I think those are the two I'm really looking at to make a big change. And then the rest of those teams down at the bottom, maybe they make a small change that doesn't actually impact their standings too much.
Yeah, Philo out there as well. I'm pretty sure Omit just won Challengers. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they just won Challengers over the weekend as well.
They can take that whole team. I mean,
honestly, yeah.
That Omit team's really, really good. So
I like XNID though. I think he's a solid player, and it kind of works with their branding to keep that thing going. So that would be the only downside of that. Maybe if XNID wasn't such a high upside that fits everything that they want to do, I could see that being a really good option.
Yeah, to be honest, XNID looked great against that series against OpTic before OpTic self-imploded. That they had that series really close, and it was on the back of XNID. So I think he is a player that you could build around and potential and put some of Kenny Hook, RCD's Philo, some other options out there look great to pair up with those. So
I think make a really good S&D team, and then just hope you luck into some respawn wins. Literally, just make a really good search team and see what happens.
Yeah, 2 out of 5, even though Hardpoint's 2 out of 5 as well. But it's
be nice to get him at the beginning of the series, not at the end.
When it's game 5 and it matters. Though,
a lot of 3-1s if you're only going to win S&D.
If you go to game 5, you'd rather have the S&D team than the respawn team, though, for sure. But switching gears to Valorant Champions Tour Americas. Weekend 1 of 5 here. We have 4 more weekends of this ahead, and man, did I miss some epic Valorant action. Kicking off, we had 2 thrilling North America matchups. 100 T's looked fierce against Sentinels, pushing them all the way to a game 3 before they fell flat. 13-1 on split. If you're Nadeshot, should you be sweating right now, Justin?
I think you should. I don't know, man. It's tough there. Sentinels is really good. You pushed him really hard right there. I think Nadeshot kind of dodged the Tarek co-stream, and so maybe he is already concerned. Maybe he knew something was going to happen there. But it's a good result, man. I'm not too concerned if I'm Nadeshot.
Are we hopping on the copium train again?
Yep, always. Never got off it. The face mask is still on.
All right, Jay, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree on the point that Sentinels are just good. So I don't think that 100 Thieves should sweat it too much in the fact that 100 Thieves is just a better team.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Sentinels is a better team than 100 Thieves. But I think he should shut his mouth. I think he yaps too much. Sorry, Nadeshot, but tweeting, the jersey thing when we're on map 2 and we haven't even gone to map 3, it's you're just setting yourself up to get 13-1, right? So maybe just chill with the tweets, chill with the yapping, and then wait it out and see if your team actually performs. Yeah, you get the Marvel Rivals win, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but it's dude, when it comes to Valorant, just close your mouth.
No, it's crazy. And Justin, I got to ask your question on this real quick. Made me think of it with what he said. It's when you're between maps, even as a professional and as a coach, you check your phone. And if you're scrolling through Twitter and you see that from your org owner, you might put a little bit of something in your head, right? So it's did you do that when you were a player and a coach?
When I was a coach, I would not get on my phone. I'm too locked in. But I do, while I'm not very spiritual and stuff, there's bad juju out there. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. If it's from your org owner, that's even more. However many eyes see a sort of a claim like that, I think affects how relevant it is. And having Nadeshot be so involved in making those things, I agree. I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't see it during the map, but later on, when I go back home and I'm scrolling on Twitter and I'm seeing all these reactions, I'm going to be maybe it was Nadeshot's fault. You know, maybe I didn't do anything wrong. So yeah, I agree that we should keep it a little professional. Work on the timing there. Nate.
Yeah.
Timing for sure, but that was match 6 over the weekend. Let's go back to match number 1 that opened up the whole thing. Cloud9 versus NRG. What a show that was. I was looking forward to that matchup, and it turned out to be a great one. Cloud9 snagged the win with a heart-pounding Game 3 on Pearl 13-9. Jay, should Ethan ever consider playing Yoru again? And do you see this as an upset as the internet does?
Ah, man, you know, he played really well on Breach those first 2 games.
He did?
And like the second game, a little shaky, right? Like not positive, but you're near positive. It's okay. But to switch to Yoru and then go 6-19 on KD, I don't know if it's like a never play Yoru again, but maybe we don't run that comp. So I don't know what was going on there. It just felt like they were really shaky. I mean, I think C9 like found their groove after game 1. Game 1, it was looking like, okay, like NRG, they got this in the bag. And then C9 was like, let's lock in. Let's have a timeout. Let's have a meeting. Let's discuss. And they come back. So, yeah, I don't know. I loved this game, though. This felt like a rivalry match almost. And I'd love to see more from both of these teams. So I'm excited for next week.
Yeah, it's 2 teams that we don't necessarily talk about much in the Valorant scene, but definitely putting themselves back on the map for hopefully the next international tournament, and we'll see what happens in group stage as we go forward. But Justin, what did you think about this match?
I thought it was competitive. I'm still pretty sad to see NRG kind of not living up to the hype. You know, they got 2 new players. Finesse is still trying to like find his feet back in. It's a player who I played against a lot back when I was competing in Valorant, so I'd like to see him succeed. Makes me feel good about my time back then. But they're still struggling. They're still struggling to live up to the hype. I think this is their 3rd like consecutive loss to Cloud9. And yeah, I mean, there's some moments, and the roster undeniably has the potential to play good, but they got to put the pieces together, man. I don't know what's going to happen with it. Maybe we just need reps and get some reps in through this phase, and then maybe make a late push. But there's a lot of good teams. So
I think you'd answered it, but I have to be sure. Upset or not?
No, not an upset.
I agree.
C9 should have won that. I would consider it an upset if NRG won, yeah.
Yep, totally. Couldn't agree more. But looking ahead to weekend number 2, Justin, what matchups are you itching to see?
I think MIBR. I think they played pretty good in their matchup versus G2. I don't even know who they're playing, I'll be honest.
G2.
Did they? No, okay, Furia, not MIBR.
Oh, okay.
Furia versus NRG is the one I want to see. That 2-0 that G2 won over Furia was actually fairly close, and we know how talented of a team G2 is. So once Furia is more evenly matched up, I think they have a new player. Verno is on Furia now, or is that MIBR? I'm getting them all thrown up and mixed up.
We'll let you know here in a second.
He's on one of them, but that's the matchup that I'm really
MIBR.
looking forward to. Okay, so not the one with Verno. I'm excited for all of them.
Hey, that's what I like.
That's right. Vamos.
We've been in we were looking at these matchups earlier, and it's like with Counter-Strike, we get matchups weekly and great matchups, top teams all the time. The last time 100 Thieves played was January 24th.
Yeah.
They haven't played in 2 months and took Sentinels to game 3. Back on the Copium train myself. I think that's a great sign, especially given limited reps, but excited to see more Valorant this weekend. What matchup are you looking forward to, Jay?
I'm glad you mentioned 100 Thieves because they're playing EG this next week. And I think that's going to be a very interesting match to watch because it's the question, right? Will Boostio poop on his former team? Ooh. Will we see that?
Or see him standing up all the time?
I don't know about that. But we didn't get the photo from 100 Thieves and Sentinels this time around.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. But Boostio, I think it'll be interesting to see what he does against his former team. But EG, it's like, are they going to be at their former levels of hype that they were with Potter like last year?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm really excited for that match. It was exciting seeing 100 Thieves versus Sent rivalry. I think this is going to be another, I would say, like newfound rivalry that we see. And then I want to see what Leviathan does against C9. My big thing with them is like I've always wanted to see more out of them. C9 coming hot off of this win, they have the chance here to just kind of like 2-0 them. But if Leviathan plays really well in this match, it'll be interesting seeing what they do going forward because I want to see more out of that roster overall.
Yeah, and you actually just stole what I literally just wrote down. But Leviathan versus Cloud9, I was roasted by our producer Pat last week, expecting them to go home at a group stage. They might go down early 0-2 in weekend 2 and will have to dig themselves out of a hole going forward. But that is a matchup I've got my eyes on just so I can continue to talk trash to our producer, Pat. So
Take that, Pat.
take that, Pat.
We hate Pat.
No, we all love Pat. The guy behind the camera does a great job. But Justin, switching gears off of Valorant, let's all talk about some different topics and what we enjoyed over this past weekend. Let's hear about Los Ratones. What is all the hype about?
Well, so Los Ratones, the Rats, they climbed their way up from the lowest potential place that you could play in the EU league scene, the NNO tournament, and they make it into the, I'm going to throw out a bunch of acronyms here that mean nothing.
Well,
NNO qualifiers, into NLC, they win the NLC, then they get into maybe something in between that I don't remember, and then they get into EMEA Masters, which is all of the top European feeder leagues. They play their top teams against each other. It's basically the highest form of European league below the LEC. They win it all. They have some tough matchups earlier on. They go 3-2 in the Fearless format, and then the grand finals, they kind of just click together and full stomp a team that was actually an easier matchup than some of their others. So we do see one of these stream teams win everything, claim the highest title available below that franchise league. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues. Will they get a chance to play against some of these European pro teams? Are they blocked by not being able to, get a franchise slot? Do they potentially consider going to North America to try and play into the LTAs? There's so much up in the air for them, but so much hype around this roster. All of the players, former pros, Kadril, a former commentator and pro, who's now the coach and owner of the team. So much hype around them, and they actually lived up to it. We had a bunch of stream teams in league this season, and the Rats, the only ones who really lived up to it. Yeah.
The Rats sounded like a good Cinderella story to keep an eye on. But Jay, we already drug Nade Shot through the mud. Give me the scoop on 100 Thieves and recap the Marvel Rivals NA Invitational.
Yeah, well, I'll bring it back and give Nade Shot his flowers for his org. They did really well in this NA rivalries match. And this is the second one. It's the second NA Invitational that's taken place. Sentinels came in third in that actually because of the 100 Thieves beating them in that that upper finals. And so for that, I will say, good job. You did it. You have a good team. One good team. Here's looking at FaZe and Valorant. Anyways, so Shroud's team, Shroud X, lost first round. That's a good talking point because Shroud has been hyping up Marvel Rivals and his team going into this for so long now. I feel like he was the first pro to actually even acknowledge Marvel Rivals being an esport and becoming what it is now, which is, we're in our second invitational. There are at least 2 more to come. So it's like, Shroud, you talked all this game. What's up? What's up with your team? Shroud X for eliminated? Anyways, double elim bracket, 100 Thieves went undefeated in Swiss and made it through playoffs to win the whole thing. Big deal for them. The only caveat there is that this is a whole team of champions from Season 0, formerly Team Mutants. They played so well throughout that entire Season 0. I shouldn't say first season, I should say Season 0. They played through multiple different tournaments to get to this point and being signed by 100 Thieves. So, they're playing against some teams who are newer and coming together in Season 1. And so for that, it's like, well, of course, experience is always going to beat out some of this skill. But give them their flowers. I'll give Nade Shot his flowers for this one.
I'm gonna hit you with 2 quick ones. One, I'm not giving him his flowers just because he opened his wallet extra wide. Unfortunately, that's just how it was, which leads to my second point. Shroud X technically got they might not have even got the last pick in the barrel. They might have got the last pick in the barrel because I'm pretty sure Shroud helped out Sen get their roster. And then all of the other rosters were already taken. So he's like, that one.
Yep.
So, he's kind of helping 2 different rosters out at the same point in time. It's like, I still hope and expect good things out of Shroud, but let's see how the Marvel Rivals competitive scene keeps growing. But on to my favorite event from this past weekend, Halo. Doesn't excite a lot of people, but it sure excites me. We had the major qualifier going into the OpTic Texas major in April. Shopify won, followed by a few different other teams. However, this did shape pool play pools going in. In Pool A, we have Shopify Rebellion, Cloud9, and Triggers Down. In Pool B, we have OpTic Gaming, Nemesis, the #1 team out of Europe, Reversal Perfy. Pool C, we have FaZe, TSM, and Pippa, the #2 EU squad. And then Pool D, where I will reside, with Luminosity Gaming as the overall 5 seed. Hey, patting myself on the back, giving myself some flowers on that one. We had a great weekend. We're going to be in that group with Space Station Gaming and Complexity. And then obviously the 4th for each will be filled out by a open bracket team. Still love how Halo does that compared to other esports when you bring in the open brackets team into pool play to get a chance to compete against some of the top teams. Should be a great weekend. I've got to lock in and have some scrims over these next couple of weeks, but that'll do it for our time here today on HardStuck. Until next time, everybody.